One day back in university, I went to meal hall with a large group of friends and acquaintances. And there was nothing that good, so I went to the pizza station, got a few slices of pepperoni pizza. And when I sat down, this girl sitting across from me, who I knew all right, but not that well, she made a sound of huge surprise and pointed at the food. And she said to me, "What? When did you give up being vegan?" Thing is, I've never been vegan. It wasn't the first time this had happened, though. In passing, walking between classes, a boy I didn't know touched my shoulder, had this huge smile on his face, and he said to me, "Great job at the concert. You really killed it." I didn't know what he meant. I hadn't played in any kind of concert since high school. And on the subject of high school, I remember I was sitting in the back of class, working on a group project. One of the other girls banged her knee and swore. She said, "Jesus Christ," or something like that, which, for the record, is my favorite swear. I find it very satisfying to say. But then she looked up at me at once, almost horrified, and she apologized. She said, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you," and... What? I didn't understand her at all. She told me she knew I was Christian, that I was from one of those kind of strict families, and she didn't want to disrespect my religion. But I wasn't raised Christian. My family wasn't religious at all. At that point, I'd not even set foot in a church. "Do you want to practice the clarinet part together this afternoon? I've got one of the rooms booked." I didn't play the clarinet. I figured there was some other girl on campus who looked a lot like me, or I looked a lot like her, and after a while I kind of started to keep my eyes peeled, looking for someone who I could mistake for myself. But I never did see her. Or maybe I had, but my brain hadn't picked up on the resemblance. We always see ourselves differently from how others do, after all. But I wonder if she heard about me too. This Christian girl, vegan girl who studied music and biology, who ran the Relay for Life and did very well at the Model UN in the year I didn't go. Did she know anything about me? I've been for a long time a bit of a quiet person. Not totally uninvolved, but I've usually kept my interests to myself. Not as much of a go-getter as I always supposed I should be. Did people tell her about things she had done? Things she didn't understand? A parallel person. We'd grown up alongside each other, the same towns, the same schools, walking the same streets, presumably sitting in the same seats, but we'd never met. We'd always just missed each other. Except for once. One time I saw her. I think I must have. This was last year, after I'd moved continents. I was in Valencia at the Ceramics Museum. And if you've ever been there, you'll know that what's interesting about that museum isn't really the ceramics collection. I mean, I guess if you're an archaeologist or something. But the architecture of the building where they are stored. It's a really strange space you walk through. All these dizzying painted ceilings, and visitors have a set path to follow, one that ultimately leads you in a circle back to the entrance, yet it feels like you're turning constantly, like your sense of direction has gotten completely twisted around. You feel like you're in some impossible building that just goes on forever, taking up spaces it couldn't possibly be allowed to. And some of the rooms have paintings on the walls, but most of them have mirrors. And I saw her there. She was in the room ahead of me, looking at something. I only saw her from the back. The shape of her head, the way she was standing, the color of her hair. She wasn't dressed as I was, at least not exactly. But I still recognized her. And it was this total, absolute recognition. Even without seeing her face, I knew I was looking at myself. And if she turned around, I would see myself, or at least something so close to myself that the difference wouldn't really mean anything. Of course, by the time I got through the doorway into the next room, and around the display case, she wasn't there anymore. That's obvious. Why expect anything else? I haven't seen her since. But I do wonder sometimes, which one of us is the doppelganger? I mean, I usually think I'm pretty secure in my reality, but there are times when I slip, when I take a step and seem to find myself on a surface made a little less of earth and a little more of mist. So who knows? Maybe I'm the shadow.